So what I started doing is I started breaking things down in a step-by-step process. As much as I don't like a paint-by-number process, I needed something for them to be able to follow, right? The goal is to give them the steps to hope that they can get to a point where they're just dancing to the rhythm, right? So that's when this approach started to change. You'll have what we call almost extremist. And when you're looking at extremist, you're looking at usually people that understand the benefit of teaching. And what is a really, really good teacher, effective teacher, and is usually a kinder teacher, is reinforcement-based training. It does a very, very good job at increasing behaviors. So we'll get into the definitions and stuff in a little bit. Then you have people who understand the benefits of maybe correcting or having a dog learn a lesson. And there are benefits to that. Usually they get labeled as old school or crank and yank or something like that. And both have their benefits. Punishment is really good at stopping behaviors. Reinforcement is really good at teaching behaviors. Okay? So for me, I mean, that's kind of like a no-brainer, right? It's like, all right, how can I use this to kind of get to a better place? So what I started doing was I started looking at competition. Football, soccer, like the elite, UFC, all this stuff. And I started watching how the best of the best were being coached. You guys familiar with American football? Imagine, yeah. If you look at some of those coaches or you accidentally like hear the audio at a time that you're not supposed to, it's pretty brutal. There's a lot of vulgar language. It's like, and you needed to be on that blue line. If you're not going to be there, I'm going to put Billy Bob in. It's game time. And the athletes need to deal with pressure. They need to learn how to handle you yelling at me what I should do, take it, and work with it instead of shutting down. What I started realizing was that that's what it took and that's what was needed to be the best at something. To be the best at something or to be under pressure in competition is the real world. Everybody's real world is going to change environmentally. In New York City, what your real world demands or needs are might be different than what it is here, might be different than what it is in Glasgow. Glasgow's a city, right? Yep, versus somewhere where you're dealing with sheep, but it's the same thing, right? It's so you guys get my point though, is that environmentally you know what you need to get the dog ready for. The reality is that very similarly to a lot of kids that don't face adversity growing up, when they get thrown into the real world, they can't handle it. So what I started realizing was if I was an art teacher and you were my student and you came into college and prior to college, everything that you did from your parents was the best. And not to say that you don't want to motivate your kids, you do. Yeah, great job. But everything that you were doing was the best and could never be better. It was the best, it was the best, it was the best. You grow up thinking that like you're special and no one gave you a little bit of dose of constructive criticism. So when the time comes that you go to college and you turn in your artwork and all I asked her to do is draw a tree and I don't know, something, right? And I look at the tree and I go, listen, Kim, this is really good, but I think we can make it better. Next time what I'd love for you to do is I'd love for you to put a little more detail in the leaves, maybe a little more detail in the bark. We can get this to be better next time, right? She could be the type of individual that takes that for what it is and goes, okay, thank you, I'm gonna work on that. But if she's never faced adversity and everything that she's done in her life was the best and she's never been pressured, odds are she's gonna run back home to mom and dad and she's gonna cry and she's gonna call me a jerk. He said it wasn't the best. And you don't understand, he said it could have more detail and I put a lot of work into it. And the kid is having a meltdown because he's never experienced that someone that said, hey, you can do better. That's what coaching is. You want to be the best football player ever. I'm going to be like, hey, listen, man, you got good hands. You have lazy feet. Someone that loves football, that wants to be the best, will go, okay, how do I work on my feet? Someone that's never faced pressure will have a meltdown and go, he said I had lazy feet. Why would he say that? You see what I mean? So what you start to see is a trend. Dogs are not much similar. You can deal, you probably have a lot of experience with I know you do already, with police dogs and military dogs and all that. And if you look at the breed for the most part, they were bred to be able to handle that. And I hate to say this, and I don't advise you ever do this. You can throw a Belgian Malinois off the roof, and it's going to run up the stairs and sit in front of you and be like, okay, what are we doing next? The reality is that the average pet dog is today, if you want to be able to help dogs, this is what you have to realize. The average pet dog is the child that has never faced adversity. You see it? So how do you start with this dog if you know you need to get it to competitive level, but they can't take direction, they can't take criticism? How can you coach someone that doesn't want to be there? How can you coach someone that doesn't want to take direction, that never does?